Hello. In this session, we continue with Genesis chapter 20, and Abimelech is still speaking to Abraham. And we start in verse 15 right to verse 18. And Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before thee. Dwell where it pleaseth thee. And unto Sarah he said, Behold, I have given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes, unto all that are with thee, and with all other. Thus she was reproved. So Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maidservants, and they bore children. For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Let's unpack this a little bit. We open with Abimelech saying to Abraham, I am at your disposal. Live anywhere you like. I would say that he definitely had a healthy respect of him, especially due to the scare God gave him. But then he addressed Sarah. Behold, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes, unto all that are with thee, and with all other. Now, when I read this at first, I tried to understand what Abimelech was saying. I didn't understand exactly what was said. The first part was easy. Abimelech gave Abraham 1,000 pieces of silver, a deposit, to display his high esteem for him and Sarah. That was a considerable amount, considering the average price of a slave at that time was 30 pieces of silver. But I believe it was more than that. The phrase covering of the eyes occurs only here in the entire Bible. The mix-up occurs when we try to understand the he. He is to thee a covering of the eyes unto all that are with thee, and with all other. This 1,000 pieces of silver is a deposit given, a payment given to Abraham. Listen, it's easy to think the he would refer to her husband Abraham, until you realize that every language other than English has a masculine, feminine, and neuter pronoun. So you would refer, say, to a table as a he, or a chair as a she, So it's kind of confusing, because in English we only have a the and a and an. That's it. So when you're brought up in the English language, you would find it weird. He's to be a covering to her eyes? No, no, no. It's more than that. This pronoun could refer to the price or payment. Then we could understand Abimelech as saying that the payment compensates that Sarah's eyes were not covered, and more than compensate for his mistake in taking her. Right. In other words, this could be regarded as an implied advice to both Abraham and Sarah to conform to the custom of married women in that society and wear a complete veil, cover the eyes, as well as the rest of her face. Not just that, but her body. This would make total sense considering the last phrase in the Hebrew text was rendered as, "Thus she was reproved." In other words, Abimelech, in saying this, was saying, look, it's your fault that you weren't covered and I was filled with lust for you. You made me want you. Isn't that kind of crazy? But isn't that what our society does too when we look at an attractive woman? A man looks at an attractive woman and he thinks, wow, she should cover up. It's her fault that I feel this way towards her. We do that, don't we? So, folks, I just want to make a point here. Sarah, at the age of 90, was still so physically beautiful as to take your breath away. She didn't look old at all. You see, our Sunday school lessons and papers depicting Sarah as a shriveled up old woman with leathery skin is definitely inaccurate. According to this. So Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maidservants, and they bore children. Taking Sarah had cursed all the women in Abimelech's household. By now, it must have been noticed, because no one became pregnant. But Abraham prayed unto God. Abraham prayed. God listened and responded. Abraham prayed fervently with righteousness that was imputed to him by God for his faith. Remember this in Genesis 15, verse 6. And because the effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much. We read that in James 5, verse 16. But Abraham wasn't that righteous, was he? But the righteousness was imputed to him because of his faith. What prayer warriors we ought to be as Christians. What prayer warriors we ought to be. Look, Abraham prayed and got results. As Christians, we boldly come before God with righteousness credited to us by none other than our Lord Jesus Christ for our faith in him. We get that from Romans 4, 2-5. You know, it's an awesome responsibility to pray for our neighbors when they ask us to pray for them. And then we can eventually lead them to have faith in our Lord Jesus Christ. Well, I close again with the complete verse of James 5, verse 16. Confess your faults one to another, and pray for another, that ye may be healed. The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much.